This is my vintage guest room for when we have company. I love this hand crocheted lovely blanket with raised roses on it. It has a very vintage look. I need to make some fancy pillows to go there. I just feel like it needs pillows. But this is where my company stays when they come. Usually it's my children and their spouses. And it gives them a nice cozy place to visit. And a private room that's decorated nicely for them to enjoy. And yet the space is still used for my sewing and craft area. So, and I'm incorporating that into the decorations, making smart use of space with a dual purpose, because most of the time nobody's in this room, and I just come in here when I do sewing or crafts. So I'm working on transforming my guest bedroom into a vintage bedroom. I picked up a few cool pieces at yard sale, and I might paint that one of these days, but for now the soft pink will be okay. I have an old-fashioned looking clock. I'm just kind of partial to clocks. I love clocks. I have them all over the house. Lace shears. And I also picked up this dresser from yard sale for a really good price. It's a very quality dresser. There's a paint chipped mirror. And I've got old-fashioned doll. This is for guests to hang their hair equipment when they're visiting. I had started decorating this room with a Victorian theme, but I've been looking at some ideas on Pinterest, and so I'm kind of developing a vintage room. Here's another clock. This little cabinet was a bathroom cabinet. It is filled with sewing and craft supplies. I have sewing paraphernalia, beads, and sewing equipment. There's more buttons, just a lot of sewing stuff. And here I just keep baskets with the purple color that matches the room, a little bit darker color. That's my hot glue gun and glue, and some other craft items for putting in baskets. And just more craft supplies tucked away, so the storage space in the room is useful for my sewing and craft stuff without making the room look crowded or shelf, where I have some draped doilies over the edge, and I have some homemade candles, and then I'm keeping canning jars or honey jars or just nice clean looking jars where I can store my lace. I placed some lace around the lid so that I know what lace is in the jar. That way I can easily see the pattern that it has. This one has a lace doily on top, and I had a lot of this lace, so I put it in a big pickle jar. And I even have some jars for buttons on this little shelf here. Let me just show you what great little dispensers they make. And when you take out, you can just easily pull out the lace you need, so it makes a great dispenser. Pickle jar filled with lace, leftover decorations from my daughter's wedding, which fits the color of this room, so they get to stay. But yeah, just lots of baskets of various things. Here I have small fabrics for some small children's costumes that I'm planning on making. A bunch of Christmas ribbon here. I don't know what's in the beads or other craft supplies. It's a shoebox, but it's purple. More assortment of various kinds of ribbon. my glues and sprays for crafts, tool, and not sure what all is in there. Little baby food jars with various beads left over from when I was making my daughter's brooch bouquet, and a basket of ribbon, and various other pieces of jewelry and odds and end pieces. My embroidery thread, a sewing box, a homemade sewing box, snowballs that we made from the wedding, sewing box, wrong color, need to change it, styrofoam for various craft projects. So the shelf is turned into a storage place, but I try to coordinate it with the colors of the room. Now I do plan on gluing some lace here so that I have like a little lace hanging up of it, so to dress it up to kind of go with the vintage theme. I try to make my storage useful, functional, and attractive, just like the jars of lace upon this shelf. The shelf that I had it somewhere else and it wasn't really working, and I decided to put it in this room. So I added my lace to the bottom edge of the shelf. It's actually glued to contact paper that I glued and went over the edge, and I glued this on with Mod Podge. I made a video just about how I did that. So all the shelves are lined with the lace, even the very bottom. And so that completes that look, which makes the shelf look a lot neater, because it was kind of worn before. So below this cute shelf, I have my sewing center, my desk where I keep my sewing machine, which is portable. So when I have my guests, I can just put the sewing machine away and just clear a few things off here. That way they have access to, my guest will have access to the table if they want to put up the computer or whatever that they need. I also found this adorable lamp at a yard sale that fits the theme of this room. And I decided to hang my Victorian doll plates because it goes with the vintage theme of the room. Yes, the closet. I have storage in the closet. Up here, I keep all my patterns, my sewing patterns, in baskets. I have children's patterns, women's patterns, men's patterns, costume patterns, and other sewing accessories. Also keep my gift basket there. It has a bunch of gift bags. And I have fabric and various sundry sewings, like filler for quilts or whatnot, kept here in the closet. And there's a case for my sewing machine when I need to just put my sewing machine away when my guests come to use. Now, we keep our winter coats in this closet, so when our guests come, I just shove those over so the guests can actually use the closet as well. And there's hooks on the back of the door. These baskets are perfect. I can get 2 rows of patterns. Baskets are great to organize things. This other basket just has different trims and laces, just a collection of various laces and just rick-rack, just all kind of trims. Now, this picture may not be romantic, but the colors fit the room, and it does remind me of a very peaceful time when we were just stationed in Guam, and I had nothing to do, so I painted what was in the room that we were staying at. Yes, it has a little lizard there because it was very common for them to get inside the house, but to me, it's a peaceful, serene painting, so I felt like that fit the room very well. I also hung some of my artwork. I wanted romantic places. This is a beach in Guam, and I thought that would be nice, a little reminder of our time in Guam. Here's another beach painting of a sunrise from York Beach in York, Maine. And of course, flowers are always pretty and romantic, and butterflies are romantic. I got my bulletin board done. I made a separate video on how I did that, so look for that video and how I created this bulletin board. It's great having that there because I keep notes, sewing tips about my machine so I don't forget certain details. Last time I was putting my needle in backwards, so it's very helpful for me to have notes about that. Keep receipts for projects that I'm working on. That way I can include the cost of that with the project that I'm working on for someone. I can post up my patterns there with some tags, or a quilt project that I'm working on. And so it's very handy to have a bulletin board over my sewing machine. And now that I have the bulletin board done, I'm thinking that my spool rack doesn't look too bad. I'm still debating whether or not I should paint it white. So that's my sewing area, my vintage sewing section. I've got a few more things I'd like to do to the room, but for now I'm pretty happy with it. And I hope you get some ideas that will help you. Even if you don't have a space, you can use what you have. I'm using a guest room as a place for my sewing room, and I'm kind of merging the decor of that room with my sewing stuff so that it goes with it, and I can use it for my craft or sewing. But I can easily just move out of the way whenever my guests come. Oh yes, and Raggedy Ann, one of my favorite paintings. Raggedy Ann takes us back to those old-fashioned days. It kind of takes me back to my childhood. So that kind of works with this room too, since we're talking about vintage things. If you could find a Raggedy Ann doll, I guess she would be vintage. Love, romance, it's sort of the inspiring idea behind this room, tying it in with things that are old-fashioned. I know it's kind of old-fashioned love and marriage and all, but it's an endearing thought, and so I just wanted to make this a very cozy place for my guests and hope it'll be a blessing for them when they come to visit. And at the same time, I have a creative space that is pretty, it's cute, it's organized, that I have ready to be creative. So I hope you found some inspiring ideas to help you with your trying to find a place when you don't have a room to devote for a sewing area. You can make it work with storage ideas, as I have done. To work with what you have and make the most of it.